So, what was that like? Not being able to play and sitting there and watching guys out there, and you can't help in that sense.
Yeah. I mean, obviously, just me as a competitor, it was very challenging. Just being out there. I'm still out there with the guys. I'm kind of like, each and every week I was progressing with my workouts and stuff like that. So I was moving as time went on. But obviously, with me being the football player that I am, it did suck for a while, just not being out there playing physically. But I feel like there was also some light in kind of like that, not really a dark place, but I guess you could say because I wasn't playing. It just allowed me to be a leader in a different aspect than just playing and just trying to be a leader out there. Like everybody, a lot of people can lead when you're doing everything, like when you're sweating, you're playing, you're working out, you're doing all this kind of stuff, but it's just like it's a different type of leadership it takes to not be out there and just to like try to lead people when you're not doing nearly as much as anybody else was doing. And so it's just like, I kind of like took that, I owned that, and it was just like, I was still able to be a vocal leader. I was still able to, just like impact some of the guys, encourage some of the guys, and, just like keeping everybody uplifted and stuff like that. Even though that I wasn't playing, I know I was going to get back to it, but just like, just challenge myself in a lot of different ways of leadership that I feel like I not really haven't done the best job with in the past, but just like kind of like one of those areas where I feel like I wasn't challenged enough because fortunately, I stayed relatively healthy throughout my college career. But just like, how do I react when adversity hits? What do I do when things don't go my way? And then I have to still be the leader that this team needs me to be. And I feel like that's challenged me in a lot of different ways with how like the past 5 games that I was out for, it challenged me in that sort of way. And I feel like it was definitely something that was beneficial for me to carry on for the rest of my life.
So what's harder, not playing at all, knowing going into a game you're going to be in shorts and your jersey and stuff, and you can't play, or you come back and you're in for certain packages. I think you had 9 snaps. Is that more difficult knowing that you've been cleared to play, but only limited?
No, I'd say definitely not playing was a lot more difficult because it's just like, it's just like when you have those 9 snaps, I mean, it kind of shows you it's just like whether that you play 50 snaps or 9 snaps, are you going to make like are you going to make the most of those 9 snaps? And like I know we have like the GPS units and stuff like that, and it showed that I had for every single one of those snaps I had like a sprint effort, or like I've given like my all in those 9 reps. So it just shows, it's just like when I had those 9 reps, I'm gonna give you those 9 reps. And so it's just like, I would rather have that than just not playing at all, coming out pre-game, helping out the guys, trying to encourage the guys. I'm like, bro, like, just like you're not playing. I'm just like, dang, this, yeah.
Ready to go out there, but you can't go on the field except for certain situations.
I mean, shoot, I was in uniform, so that was about that was happy for me. They was like, yeah, Ruck, just go ahead and be ready to not play a lot. And I was like, bro, that's fine. I got my uniform on. I'm happy right now, so I'm good.
We heard that you got hurt in the weight room on a Thursday.
Yep.
Like, what did you do? Was this, I'm assuming it's a routine lift because it's 2 days before a game.
So I think, to be honest with you, when that happened, I've had some knee discomfort previously, and I think it stemmed from fall camp, and it was just one of those things where I just played on it, and I didn't realize that it was torn until that Thursday, where it just like I squatted, and the next thing you know, I heard like, and I'm like, okay, yeah, this is no good. So it was just like, that's when I finally figured out, I was like, okay, this thing is something's up, And so, yeah, that was just freak accident. This is kind of something similar I had my sophomore year, where I just played on it throughout the year. They don't know what happened, and then next thing you know, like we're going out of my sophomore year, going into my junior spring. Literally the same thing. I just didn't get hurt. I was squatting fine, doing everything right, and then a week later I get surgery, and coach was like, what the freak happened to you? And I'm just like, I mean, this is something that I've been playing on. I just didn't know about it until later, so same situation.
So had you been playing in some pain even before it popped?
Sorta. It was just like, it was some things where it's just like I didn't really know it was torn. Like I said, I didn't know it was torn until that situation happened, but I did have like in that week I had a little bit of some hamstring issues as well, which I've never had hamstring issues in my life. So it was just like, that was just kind of like, once like hindsight's 2020, when you start looking back over and you're like, this is probably the reason why I had some other issues in other places. But yeah, that's pretty much what happened.
How close or how far away are you, or how do you feel from being back back to an every down guy?
Shoot, now I'm feeling pretty good now. It's just like, I had my first game back, Georgia Tech, last week, and I felt great. It was just like there was, like, going into that week, it was like kind of some concern, just like not really concern, but just like I was babying my knee for a little bit. Like, my change of direction wasn't as quick. It wasn't as like swift that I wanted it to be, and I would take like a lot of steps to break down on the tackle and stuff. But I just had to realize just like my knee's fixed. Like, let's just have confidence in it going into the game, just knowing that, whatever happens, happens. If something happens to my knee, so be it. And if it don't, cool, close this game, go on to the next one. And obviously, I had no knee pain. I didn't have anything going on. So, God got my knee, so I ain't worried about it.
Just with this recovery process, what were some of the things that you were doing, like physically, exercise-wise, and then also, mentally?
Physically, I spent most of my time in there in the training room, doing BFR, which is literally a strap that squeezes whatever muscle that's closest to your injury. So if you have a labrum, it's going to squeeze you right here. If you have any type of knee issue, leg issue, it's going to squeeze at the top of your thigh, just to kind of like get like blood I don't want to say blood restriction. They're gonna get mad at me because I'm not explaining this right. But it's just like I'm saying it's gonna be blood flow down there. Let's just stick to that point. But it's just like it just like causes you to like if you had if you just did a whole bunch of squats and how your legs feel about like they feel swole and weak at the same time. That's basically what that BFR does. And so like I have that on and I would do other exercises, single leg stuff, single leg squats, lunges. I know I was on kind of like the anti-gravity treadmill, which was actually pretty cool, but also at the same time I hated it. But it was just like, that was kind of like the physical stuff, and of course just treatment, icing it, all this other kind of stuff. Mentally, I was in a pretty good spot with it. Honestly, I think that was just like, just me being older. I've had injuries before. Some that has not cost me that much time, stuff that's cost me a whole season, and stuff like that. So it's just like I feel like for this injury, it wasn't really anything. I was at peace with my injury, knowing that it was just like I was gonna be okay with whatever was to happen. And then doctors were telling me after the surgery, they was just like, yeah, it was everything. It was actually a lot better than what we expected. It was everything that we thought it was, and they fixed it. It wasn't nothing crazy, and I was just like, well, that's kind of like good affirmation, just knowing that if it was everything that they thought it was, then I ain't got much to worry about. I just got to take care of my business physically, make sure I get back into doing whatever I need to do, whatever I need to be present for, whether that was in the team meeting room, meeting room, whatever the coaches need me to do out on the field, whether that I was going to be in the training room on the field or I was going to be on the field coaching. I was just making myself available and, just doing whatever I could. But mentally, I was pretty set on, just getting back into it, and whenever the time was right, let's get back at it.
I'm sure you saw that you named one of 20 semifinalists for the Jason Witten Collegiate Man of the Year Award for your work with the personal hygiene products. What does that honor mean to you, and what does the work that you're doing for that mean to you?
It's a blessing. It really is. I know one of the things that I wanted to do also with playing football was just to leave a lasting impact for just not only myself, but the image that I carry with wearing the UNC emblem, just wearing the Carolina blues and stuff like that. So me just being, I know I'm going to have these, position-specific awards and stuff like that, preseason honors, all this other kind of stuff. But just like, the one thing I feel like a lot of people often look over and a lot of people don't really realize how much important it is awards such as this one. And so I take this with great honor and I take it with great pride. And like, just like being a semifinalist for this, I plan on actually just, also being on the run for being the Walter Payton Man of the Year award when I get to the league and stuff like that. So I'm also striving to do stuff like that, and it doesn't just stop here. So, it's an honor, it's a privilege, it's a blessing, and I hope I win.
And those last couple games that you missed, and I think even the one you were limited, they had Jacoby Cowan kind of sliding into your position. We talked to him a few weeks ago, and he's talking about enjoying, I guess, kind of the opportunity he's gotten throughout his college journey, obviously coming from Ohio State and things like that. I guess for you, what was it like seeing him getting that extended run and, in those last few games?
Shoot, he should have been at Rush, man. To be honest with you, man, I feel like he has the body type for it. He has the athletic ability to do so. He has the what a lot of people often overlook is his IQ of the game, and he really understands football, not just from a defensive line perspective, but linebackers perspective, a secondary perspective. Like, he just knows football, which is, I feel like, it's granted him a lot of, like, it's just allowed him to play the rush position a lot quicker, allowing him just to really absorb the playbook as quick as he has. And I'm proud of him. I feel like this was definitely, unfortunately I got hurt for him to get this opportunity, because I would love to just have him initially where it was me and him splitting the reps at rush. But I feel like watching him play, taking ownership of that position and stuff like that, I feel like he's done a tremendous job, and I know he's just going to continuously get better and better, which he has. And it's been a pleasure to watch him play these past couple of games while I was out. So.
And then for you guys collectively, obviously watching it and then being on the field for Georgia Tech, I guess as a run defense, what do you feel you guys need to, I guess, get back to? Because Matt was talking about how, against Minnesota, things were, pretty efficient, things like that. Last few games, not as much. What do you feel that you guys as a defense need to kind of get back to as far as, stopping the run?
Just talking about my group specific, just remain having gap integrity, just understanding it's just like, this is my gap and I got to remain ownership of that. But also not on top of that, but just like finishing the block and making a play. I feel like sometimes we get so caught up in gap integrity where it's just like, this is my gap, I have this gap, nobody else has it. But it's just like, but you also responsibility. You're like, at the end of the day, you're a ball player. Make a play, make plays that a ball player is going to make. And so I feel like not only everybody else, but myself included, where it's just like, I have my responsibility. If I'm the force player, I have to set the edge. But also, if that thing cuts back and I see it hit the B gap and I have the opportunity to make a play, let's make the play. You know what I'm saying? And so I feel like there was a lot of different areas where that was shown in Minnesota. And, I feel like we need to get back to doing that, because we had a lot of guys that was just like, they took care of their initial job, but then they did the extra. They did what a ball player needed to do. And so I feel like that's what we need to get back to. And I feel like that's something that is pretty much, I feel like it's easy to fix. All you got to do is just get them 2 extra seconds, and then you make the play. And the next thing you know, that separates you from being on the field for third down and then a punt. So.
Along those lines, from a team-wide perspective, not just the defense, it's obviously 4 straight losses now,
Yeah.
and 5 games left. How do you think this group can turn it around? Because you obviously need to turn it around in a hurry. And is that a big concern for you, that whether you will be able to turn it around?
Yeah, no, so for sure, just like kind of like stating my point is just like up front, just having gap integrity and just making a play. I feel like that's the biggest thing that we need to do up front. And of course, just a communication thing. We also, I know I've said this plenty of times before, there's no such thing as over communicating on defense. And so that just not only goes for us on the front 4, but it also goes for the linebacker group and the secondary group as well. And of course, just finding the rhythm that we need on offense as well. I'm not an offensive guy, so I'm not going to speak on offense, but I know in the Pitt game and in the Georgia Tech game, that was probably the most efficient that I've seen our offense looked in a while, especially with Jacoby being the being at quarterback. And so I know he's just going to continue to gain confidence. I know we're going to get back to doing what we're doing, and we got so many weapons across everybody, like just not only with Amarion and JJ and Kobe and everybody else, but we still got guys at the tight end position. We still got dogs up front at the O-line. So I know they're going to pick up the rhythm. And so once we get everything, meshing well together like that, man, I feel like we're genuinely going to turn this season around, especially for the remaining 5 games.
Kaimon, with you being back fully healthy, and it being your final year at Carolina, do you feel a sense of renewed urgency to perform well, or is your drive to win still the same?
All right, Nia, I appreciate you letting me know this is my final season. I try not to think about that as much as possible. But at the same time, no. I feel like I don't really feel like there needs to be some type of urgency, especially in the position that I'm in right now. Honestly, I'm just taking it day by day. I'm just appreciating every moment that I do have here, because it is my last year, just like the time that I was out and then coming back for the Georgia Tech game. I know there were some things that didn't go our way, obviously, especially with the explosive run at the end. That was a killer. But I mean, at the same time, it was like, for me personally, it's just like I couldn't get mad for anything, because it was just like I just realized how much joy football brought me, just like how much being with the guys, how much joy that brought me, just being coached, how much joy that brought me. And so it's just like, with me, there's not really like, come on, y'all, we got to hurry up, this is my last year, I got it, like, this ain't about me, this is about the team, and I'm a part of the team, so I want to do whatever the team needs me to do. And so, you know, there's not really any like sudden urgency or trying to hurry up and turn this season around. Obviously, that's the goal, and that's what we want to do. We want to win out, and that's what I feel like we are going to do. But, you know, there's not really any urgency that's going on. I just feel like, you know, we just need to be honest with you, we need to slow down and take it day by day. Let's take ownership of what today has to bring. Tomorrow is going to have its own problems. Yesterday is already over with. Let's worry about the present and what it brings. So.
Been just an advocate for mental health, especially given just everything the team has gone through the past week or so. And again, just condolences for the loss of your teammate, Tylee. But could you please speak to just some of the mental health resources that have been made available to you guys and just the importance of everybody on the team, you know, taking advantage of that?
Yeah, you know, just obviously, you know, there's been a rough couple of weeks, especially for this building, not just from a player's perspective, but coaches, staff, faculty, everybody that Tylee has came in contact with and is impacted and left just a tremendous, like, amount of spirit that he's like just left with everybody in this building. And so it's been tough, but I know just like not even from the mental health counseling perspective, even though they've done a tremendous job being available for everybody, even just like stepping out of their typical office to come up here on the 5th floor and just like being available for anybody that wants to talk, whether that they were talking with 30 people or whether it was just 10 people, you know, just like having that availability just to be here and just to, you know, be here for people that typically don't want to talk about situations like these, that grieve different, that handle loss differently, just for them just to be here, just to be present, to be available. Hats goes off to them, and I love them unconditionally for it. But, you know, just also with the coaches as well, I feel like it's allowed a lot of transparency in this building as well, just allowing people just to really take ownership of just like, you know, let's be present in the day, because you never know when God's going to call you home. You never know when that's going to happen. And so it's just like we need to focus on just like, you know, being the best people that we can be individually and collectively, but also just understanding it's just like tomorrow's not promised. And like I said, the day is already over from yesterday. So let's just focus on the now. But, you know, mental health and the resources that we have here, Simone and her staff, Dwight Hoyer and all of them, they've been great. I know that I need to talk to them more just for my own personal sake, but they've been tremendous for not only myself, but for the rest of the team and for the rest of the staff that works in this building as well.
All right. Thank you.
Appreciate y'all. Oh, yeah.